The conference call was supposed to end at 5, but Natalie Torres found herself still staring at her laptop screen at 7:30, watching executives from 3 different continents argue about profit margins while her dinner grew cold beside her. She closed her eyes for just a moment, pressing her fingers against her temples, and that was when she heard his voice for the first time. "Maybe we are all overthinking this," the voice said, cutting through the chaos with a calm authority that made everyone else fall silent. "The Singapore office has the data. Let them present it without interruption, and we will make a decision based on facts, not speculation." Natalie opened her eyes and unmuted herself. "Thank you," she said, relief flooding through her words. "I have been trying to share this presentation for 20 minutes. Then we are all eager to see it, Miss Torres," the voice replied, and she could hear the hint of a smile in his tone. She did not know his name then. The participant list showed him only as Zachary Grayson, Regional Director, New York. But as she walked through her data, explaining the marketing strategy she had spent 3 months developing, she felt him listening in a way the others were not. He asked smart questions. He understood what she was trying to accomplish, and when the call finally ended at 8:15, he stayed on the line. "Miss Torres, do you have a moment?" Her heart did an unexpected skip. "Of course. That was excellent work. I wanted to apologize for the chaos earlier. These calls can get out of hand. You have no idea how often I deal with this," Natalie said, leaning back in her chair. Through her apartment window, she could see the lights of Singapore spreading out like scattered stars. "Sometimes I think half my job is just trying to be heard over everyone else. I imagine the time zones do not help. What time is it there?" 8:30 in the morning. "Tomorrow morning, technically," he laughed, a warm sound that made her smile despite her exhaustion. "And you stayed up for a call that was supposed to end at your 5 p.m. yesterday. Welcome to international marketing," she said. "What time is it in New York?" 7:30 in the evening. "I should probably eat dinner at some point." "I should probably eat breakfast at some point," Natalie countered, glancing at her cold pad tie. They talked for another 15 minutes, the conversation flowing easily from work to time zones to the strange isolation of corporate life. When they finally hung up, Natalie sat in the quiet of her apartment and realized she was still smiling. She did not expect to hear from him again outside of the standard company meetings. Grayson Industries was massive, a luxury hotel empire with properties in 40 countries and thousands of employees. She was the marketing director for Southeast Asia, based in Singapore. He was regional director for the Americas, based in New York. Their paths should not have crossed again. But 3 days later, an email appeared in her inbox. "Miss Torres, I was reviewing the marketing reports from all regions, and your Singapore campaign stood out significantly. Would you be willing to discuss your strategy? I believe we could implement similar approaches in the American market. Regards, Zachary Grayson." She stared at the email for a full minute before responding. Professional collaboration, she told herself. Nothing unusual about that. They scheduled a video call for the following week, and Natalie spent an embarrassing amount of time deciding what to wear. When his face appeared on her screen, she forgot to breathe for a second. The voice had been attractive enough, but Zachary Grayson was striking in person, even through a laptop camera. Dark hair with just a hint of gray at the temples, strong features, eyes that seemed to see right through the screen. "Miss Torres," he said, and that slight smile appeared again. "Good to put a face to the voice." "You too," she managed, then felt her cheeks warm. "I mean, thank you for reaching out about the campaign. Call me Zach, please. We are going to be working together and formality gets exhausting. Then I am Natalie." The meeting was supposed to last 30 minutes. It went for 2 hours. They talked about marketing strategies and customer demographics and brand positioning, but they also talked about the cities they lived in, the strange experience of building a career in the corporate world, the difficulty of maintaining any kind of personal life when work consumed everything. "My last relationship ended because I missed her birthday," Zach admitted, running a hand through his hair. "I was in London dealing with a hotel acquisition and I completely forgot. She said I was married to my job." "Was she wrong?" Natalie asked gently. "No, that was the problem." He met her eyes through the screen. "What about you? Significant other waiting for you to finish these endless calls?" "I have not dated anyone seriously in 3 years," she said, surprising herself with the honesty. "Everyone I meet either cannot understand why I work so much or gets intimidated when they find out what I do. It gets lonely." "It does," he agreed quietly. After that, the emails became more frequent. Then the video calls. They would schedule meetings to discuss work projects and end up talking about everything else. Natalie learned that Zach had grown up in Chicago, that his father had been a construction worker who taught him the value of building something that lasted, that he had put himself through business school working night shifts at a hotel front desk. He learned that she had moved to Singapore 5 years ago for the job opportunity, that she missed her family in California but loved the adventure of living abroad, that she had wanted to be a writer before discovering she had a talent for marketing. "What would you write about?" he asked one evening, his face illuminated by the desk lamp in his New York office. "Love stories, probably," Natalie said, then laughed at herself. "Which is ironic, considering I cannot seem to manage one in real life. Maybe you just have not found the right story yet." Something in his voice made her pulse quicken. She looked at him through the screen, seeing the warmth in his eyes, and felt a flutter of something dangerous in her chest. "Zach," she said carefully, "what are we doing here?" He was quiet for a moment. "I do not know," he admitted. "But I know I look forward to these calls more than anything else in my week, and I know that is probably complicated." "Very complicated," she agreed. "You are in New York, I am in Singapore. We work for the same company, we have never even met in person." "All true." He leaned closer to the camera. "Does that mean we should stop?" Natalie thought about the way her heart lifted every time she saw his name in her inbox. The way she had started waking up early just to have time to talk to him before her workday started. The way she felt understood in a way she had not felt in years. "No," she said softly. "I do not want to stop." His smile could have lit up the whole city behind him. "Good, neither do I." They did not call it dating at first. How could it be dating when they were 12 time zones apart? But Natalie started noticing little changes in her life. She would find herself telling Zach about her day before she told anyone else. She would save funny stories to share with him. She started keeping stranger hours, staying up late or waking up early to find times when they could talk without work interrupting. Her friend, Maya, noticed first. They were having coffee in a cafe near Natalie's apartment when Maya pointed at her phone and said, "Who keeps making you smile like that?" "No one," Natalie said automatically, then sighed at Maya's knowing look. "A friend. We work together." "A friend who makes you light up like a Christmas tree every time your phone buzzes." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Tell me more about this friend." "He is in New York." "Of course he is. You could not fall for someone local and convenient." "I am not falling for him," Natalie protested, but even she could hear how unconvincing it sounded. "We just talk." "Natalie, I have known you for 3 years. I have never seen you like this about anyone." She wanted to deny it, but sitting there in the cafe with the Singapore heat pressing in through the windows, she had to face the truth. She was falling for Zachary Grayson. She was falling for a man she had never touched, never stood beside, never even breathed the same air as. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was happening anyway. That night she stayed up until 3 in the morning to video call him. He had been in meetings all day and looked exhausted, his tie loosened and his hair disheveled. "You should sleep," she said, even though every selfish part of her wanted him to stay. "I will sleep when I am dead," he said, then smiled. "Besides, this is the best part of my day. Why would I cut it short, Zach?" She took a breath. "What are we doing, really? I thought we established that we do not know." "I need to know," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Because this feels like more than friendship to me, and if I am wrong about that, I need to protect myself." He went very still. "You are not wrong." The relief was dizzying. "So what do we do about it?" "I have been thinking about that," he said slowly. "The company has a conference in Tokyo next month. Both of our regions will be represented. We could both attend and meet in person." "And meet in person." He leaned forward. "Natalie, I know this is crazy. I know long-distance relationships are hard even when you are in the same country. But I have not been able to stop thinking about you for weeks. I want to try this. I want to try us." She thought about all the reasons it was a terrible idea. The distance, the complications, the 1,000 ways it could fall apart. Then she thought about the way he made her laugh. The way he understood her ambitions without feeling threatened. The way she felt known. "I want to try too," she whispered. The weeks until the Tokyo conference felt endless. They talked every day, sometimes multiple times a day. Natalie found herself memorizing the details of his face, the sound of his laugh, the way he looked at her through the screen like she was the only person in the world. They talked about their childhoods and their dreams and their fears. He told her about the pressure of his job, how he was actually on the executive board of Grayson Industries, how his family had expectations he was not sure he could meet. She told him about the loneliness of being far from home, the weight of trying to prove herself in a male-dominated industry. "You know what the best part of this is," he said one night. "What?" "I can tell you things I have never told anyone. Maybe it is the distance, maybe it is the screens, but I feel like I can be honest with you in a way I cannot with people who see me every day." "I feel the same way," Natalie admitted. "It is like the distance gives us permission to be real. Maybe that is what is going to make us stronger when we are finally together." The morning she flew to Tokyo, Natalie was a mess of nerves. She had changed her outfit 4 times before settling on a navy dress that was professional but flattering. On the plane, she could not focus on work or movies or anything except the knowledge that in a few hours she would meet Zach face to face. What if the chemistry did not translate in person? What if the magic was only possible through screens? What if he took one look at her and realized he had made a terrible mistake? She was standing in the hotel lobby, checking in, when she felt someone watching her. She turned, and there he was. Zachary Grayson was taller than she expected, broad-shouldered in a perfectly tailored suit, but it was his eyes that made her breath catch. The same eyes she had been staring at through a screen for months, but now they were real and focused entirely on her. "Natalie," he said, and his voice sent shivers down her spine in a way the laptop speakers never had. "Zach," she breathed. He crossed the lobby in long strides, and then he was standing right in front of her, close enough to touch. "Hi," he said, and the smile that spread across his face was worth every moment of anxiety. "Hi," she whispered back. "Can I hug you, or is that too forward after all this time?" In answer, she stepped into his arms. He wrapped her up in an embrace that felt like coming home, and Natalie buried her face in his chest, breathing in the scent of his cologne, feeling the solid reality of him after months of pixels and imagination. "You are real," she said against his shirt. He laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. "So are you. God, you are even more beautiful in person." She pulled back to look up at him. So are you. They stood there in the hotel lobby, grinning at each other like idiots, until someone cleared their throat behind them and they remembered they were supposed to be professional colleagues at a corporate conference. Right, Zach said, not letting go of her hand. Conference. Work. We should probably focus on that. Probably, Natalie agreed, but she was not focusing on anything except the feeling of his fingers intertwined with hers. The conference sessions were torture. They sat through presentations and networking events and cocktail hours, always aware of each other but unable to really talk. Natalie caught him watching her from across the room more than once, and the heat in his gaze made her forget what she was supposed to be doing. Finally, after a dinner that seemed to last forever, they escaped to the hotel rooftop bar. Tokyo spread out beneath them in a cascade of lights, but Natalie could not look away from Zach. "This is surreal," she said, reaching across the small table to touch his face, needing to confirm he was solid and warm and here. "I have been looking at you on a screen for so long, and now you are right in front of me." He caught her hand and pressed a kiss to her palm. "I have been thinking about doing that for weeks." "Just that? Oh, I have been thinking about a lot more than that," he said, his voice dropping. "But I am trying to be a gentleman." "What if I do not want you to be a gentleman?" The look he gave her could have melted steel. "Natalie Torres, are you trying to destroy my self-control? Maybe." She was being bold in a way she never usually was, but something about finally being in the same space as him made her brave. "We have been doing this the patient way for months, Zach. I do not want to be patient anymore." He signaled for the check, his eyes never leaving hers. "Your room or mine? Whichever is closer." His room was on the 15th floor, and the elevator ride felt like an eternity. The moment the doors closed, giving them privacy, he pulled her against him and kissed her. It was not gentle or tentative. It was months of wanting poured into a single moment, and Natalie felt it all the way to her toes. His hands tangled in her hair, and she gripped his jacket, trying to get closer, needing to erase every inch of distance that had existed between them. They barely made it into his room before he was kissing her again, backing her toward the bed, his hands everywhere at once. "I have been dreaming about this," he murmured against her neck. "About you." "Me too," she gasped, her fingers working at the buttons of his shirt. "Zach, I need you." Later, lying tangled in his sheets with the Tokyo skyline glowing through the windows, Natalie felt a contentment she had not known she was missing. Zach traced lazy patterns on her shoulder and she could feel him smiling. "What?" she asked. "I was just thinking how worth it all the distance was if it led to this." She propped herself up on her elbow to look at him. "You really think distance made us better?" "I do." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Think about it. We could not rely on physical attraction or convenience. We had to actually talk to each other. Get to know each other. Build something real before any of this happened. How many relationships start with that?" "Not many," she admitted. "Exactly. The distance forced us to be honest, to be patient, to make sure this was real before we acted on it." He pulled her down for a soft kiss. "And now that I have you here, I am even more sure." "Sure of what?" "That I am falling in love with you," her breath caught. "Zach, I know it is fast. I know we still have so much to figure out, but I need you to know how I feel." "I am falling in love with you too," she whispered. "I think I have been for a while now." They stayed up all night talking and kissing and planning, the exhaustion worth it to maximize every moment together. The conference lasted 3 more days, and they stole every second they could, sneaking away from sessions to grab coffee, holding hands under tables during dinners, staying up until dawn in each other's rooms. But on the last night, reality crashed back in. "I fly back to Singapore tomorrow," Natalie said quietly. They were lying in bed and she could feel him tense beside her. "And I go back to New York," he said. Natalie, we need to talk about this. I know. She sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. I do not know how we make this work, Zach. The time difference alone is brutal. I have been thinking about that. He sat up too, taking her hands. My position at Grayson Industries has some flexibility. I can work remotely sometimes. I can arrange to have more business in Asia. And you have vacation time. We would still be apart most of the time. Yes, he admitted, but we have been doing that for months already. We know how to talk to each other. We know how to stay connected. And now we know what we are working toward. He lifted her hands to his lips. I do not want to give you up because of geography. I do not want to give you up either, she said, but I am scared. What if the distance is too much? What if we grow apart? Then we will fight for each other, he said firmly. Natalie, I have never felt like this about anyone. What we have is worth fighting for, worth the inconvenience and the long flights and the time zones. You are worth it. Tears pricked her eyes. Promise me something, anything. Promise me we will be honest with each other. If this gets too hard, if one of us is not happy, we talk about it. No letting problems fester just because we are far apart. I promise. He kissed her softly. We can do this. The distance brought us together. It can keep us together too. The next morning, saying goodbye at the airport was one of the hardest things Natalie had ever done. She held on to Zach until the last possible moment, memorizing the feeling of being in his arms. This is not goodbye, he said against her hair. This is just see you later. When I will be in Singapore in 6 weeks, I am making it happen. He pulled back to look at her. And you are coming to New York for Thanksgiving. We are going to make this work, Natalie. 6 weeks, she repeated, trying to make it sound manageable instead of endless. 6 weeks, he confirmed. I love you. It was the first time he had said it without the qualifier of falling. Just a simple statement of fact. I love you too, she said, and kissed him one more time before forcing herself to walk away. The first few weeks back were harder than Natalie expected. The video calls continued, but now they felt different. Now she knew what she was missing. She knew the feeling of his arms around her, the sound of his laugh when she was in the same room, the way he looked at her like she was precious. The screen felt like a cruel reminder of what they could not have. She threw herself into work, developing new campaigns and strategies, but her heart was not in it the way it used to be. Maya noticed immediately. You are miserable, she said bluntly over lunch one day. I miss him, Natalie admitted. God, Maya, I miss him so much it physically hurts sometimes. Then why are you doing this to yourself? There are plenty of great guys right here in Singapore, because none of them are him. She pushed her food around her plate. I know it sounds crazy, but what Zach and I have is special. The distance is hard, but losing him would be harder. You really love him. I really do. Maya reached across the table to squeeze her hand. Then you make it work. You do whatever it takes. Zach called her that night, his face filling her laptop screen, and just seeing him made something in her chest unclench. Rough day, he asked immediately. How did you know? I can see it in your eyes. Talk to me. So she did. She told him about the loneliness, the difficulty of being in a relationship where she could not reach out and touch her partner when she needed comfort. He listened without trying to fix it, just being present in the way that made her fall for him in the first place. I am struggling too, he admitted when she finished. I went to a work dinner last night and all I could think about was how much I wished you were there. How much more fun it would be if I could look across the table and see you. 6 weeks feels like forever. I know, but we can do this, we have to. He leaned closer to the camera. Natalie, I have been wanting to tell you something about my job. Okay. I am not just regional director, he said carefully. My last name is Grayson, as in Grayson Industries. My grandfather founded the company. My father runs it now, and I am being groomed to take over eventually. She stared at him. You are telling me you are not just an executive. You are the heir to a hotel empire. Yes, he ran a hand through his hair. I did not tell you at first because I liked that you did not know. You did not treat me differently because of my family name. You just saw me. I still just see you, she said slowly. But Zach, that explains so much. The pressure you talk about, the expectations. It also means I have resources, he said. I know I said 6 weeks until I could visit, but I could come sooner if you need me to. Money is not an issue for travel. You do not need to throw money at this, Natalie said. I just need you to keep showing up. Keep calling me. Keep being honest with me. I can do that, he smiled. But I am still coming in 6 weeks. I already cleared my schedule. He kept his promise. When Natalie picked him up from the airport in Singapore, the reunion felt like something out of a movie. He dropped his bags and lifted her off her feet, spinning her around in the middle of the arrivals terminal while people smiled and took pictures around them. I missed you so much, he said, setting her down but not letting go. I missed you too. She pulled him down for a kiss that made her forget they were in public. Having him in Singapore was like seeing her life through new eyes. She showed him her favorite hawker stalls and the botanical gardens and the rooftop bar where she liked to watch the sunset. He met Maya and charmed her completely. He saw where Natalie lived and worked and built her life, and she could feel him trying to understand this part of her world. I can see why you love it here, he said one night. They were sitting on her apartment balcony, the humid air wrapping around them. It is vibrant and alive. But it is not home, Natalie said softly. Not really. I love my job and my friends, but sometimes I feel like I am playing a part. Like I am pretending to be someone who has it all figured out. What would home look like for you? I do not know anymore, she leaned against him. But I am starting to think home is not a place, it is a person. He kissed the top of her head. That is the most romantic thing anyone has ever said to me. I mean it. When we are together, even just on video calls, I feel more at home than I do in my own apartment. I feel the same way, he admitted, which is why I have been thinking about something. What if we figured out a way to be in the same city? Her heart jumped. What do you mean? Grayson Industries has been talking about expanding our Asia-Pacific operations. We want to open a regional headquarters, somewhere that can oversee all our properties in this part of the world. He turned to face her. What if it was here, in Singapore? You would move here. I would move anywhere to be with you, he said simply. But it would not just be for you, it makes business sense. And I could set up the operation, hire a team, and then split my time between here and New York until we figure out what works best. Zach, that is huge. You cannot uproot your entire life for me. I am not. I am building a life that includes you. He cupped her face in his hands. Natalie, I love you. I do not want to spend years doing long distance, seeing each other a few weeks at a time. I want to wake up next to you. I want to take you to dinner without needing a 12-hour flight first. I want us to have a real chance. What about your family, the expectations? I have already talked to my father about this. He thinks it is a smart business move, and he respects that I am making my own choices. He smiled. Besides, he wants to meet the woman who has made me happier than I have been in years. Natalie felt tears sliding down her cheeks. You really want this, more than anything. What do you want? She thought about the months of video calls and stolen weekends and the constant ache of missing him. She thought about how the distance had forced them to build something real, something strong. And she thought about what it would be like to not have that distance anymore. I want you here, she whispered. I want us to have a real chance too. His kiss was her answer, deep and full of promise. The next few months were a whirlwind. Zach flew back and forth between Singapore and New York, setting up the new Asia-Pacific headquarters, and transitioning some of his American responsibilities to other executives. Natalie helped where she could, consulting on the Singapore market and introducing him to local business contacts. They found an apartment together in a high-rise with a view of the harbor, and Natalie felt her heart expand every time she walked through the door and saw Zach's things mixed with hers. "This is really happening," she said one evening. They were unpacking boxes in their living room, and Zach was attempting to assemble furniture with mixed results. "Did you doubt it would?" he asked, looking up from the bookshelf instructions. "Maybe a little. It seemed too good to be true." He set down the instructions and came over to where she was standing. "Natalie, I need you to understand something. You are not too good to be true. You are exactly what I needed, and I am going to spend every day proving that I am what you need too." "You already have," she said, wrapping her arms around his waist. "The distance was hard, but it showed me how strong we are, how willing you are to fight for us." "We fought for us," he corrected. "Both of us. You could have decided it was not worth the hassle, but you chose to try. That takes courage. So did moving halfway around the world. Best decision I ever made." He kissed her forehead. "Now help me figure out which part is supposed to attach to which. I think these instructions are in Swedish." They settled into a rhythm. Zach worked long hours setting up the new headquarters, and Natalie continued her marketing role, but now they had mornings together. Evenings. Weekends. They explored Singapore side by side, trying new restaurants and taking ferry rides to nearby islands. They had date nights and lazy Sundays, and all the ordinary moments that had been impossible when they were apart. "I did not realize how much I missed this," Natalie said one Saturday morning. They were cooking breakfast together, the apartment filled with the smell of coffee and pancakes. "Missed what?" "Normalcy. Routine. Coming home to someone." She flipped a pancake. "All those video calls were wonderful, but they were also exhausting. Everything had to be planned. We could never just exist together." "And now we can," Zach said, sliding his arms around her from behind. "Just exist. I like existing with you. I like existing with you too." 6 months after Zach moved to Singapore, he took her back to the rooftop bar where they had spent their first night together in Tokyo. She did not realize what was happening until he got down on one knee. "Natalie Torres," he said, pulling out a ring that caught the light like captured stars. "The distance brought us together and taught us how to really see each other. It made us stronger. But now I do not want any distance between us at all. I want to be your partner in everything. I want to build a life with you. Will you marry me?" She was crying and laughing at the same time. "Yes, God, yes." He slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her while the other people on the rooftop applauded. "I love you," he murmured against her lips. "I love you too, so much." They got married in California 6 months later, with both their families present and Maya as the maid of honor. It was a small ceremony on the beach where Natalie had grown up, and as she walked down the aisle toward Zach, she thought about the journey that had brought them here. The video calls and the time zones and the ache of missing him. The way they had chosen each other over and over despite the obstacles. "You look beautiful," Zach said when she reached him, his voice rough with emotion. "You are not so bad yourself," she whispered back. The vows they exchanged were simple but heartfelt. Promises to support each other, to communicate honestly, to keep choosing each other every single day. When the officiant pronounced them married, Zach kissed her like she was his whole world, and maybe she was. At the reception, Zach stood to make a toast. "Most people thought we were crazy," he said, holding up his champagne glass. "Long distance, different time zones, starting a relationship through a computer screen. But what they did not understand is that the distance was not our obstacle. It was our gift. It forced us to really know each other before anything else. It taught us how to communicate, how to be patient, how to fight for what we wanted. and it showed us that what we have is strong enough to survive anything. He looked at Natalie, his eyes shining. Thank you for taking a chance on a voice on a conference call. Thank you for building something extraordinary with me. I cannot wait to spend the rest of my life proving that you made the right choice. Natalie stood and kissed him, not caring that everyone was watching. Best choice I ever made, she said. 2 years later, Natalie stood in the nursery of their Singapore apartment, holding their daughter while Zach assembled yet another piece of furniture. I think I am getting better at this, he said, standing back to admire the changing table. You said that about the crib too, and it took you 6 hours, Natalie teased. Details. He came over to look down at their sleeping daughter. She is perfect. She really is. Natalie watched their daughter's tiny chest rise and fall. They had named her Grace, and she had Zach's dark hair and Natalie's nose. Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if we had not met? All the time, Zach said softly. I would probably still be working 80-hour weeks in New York, telling myself I was happy because I did not know what I was missing. And I would still be in Singapore, convinced that relationships were not worth the effort because they always ended in disappointment. Instead, we have this. He gestured around the nursery at the life they had built together. We have everything. We really do. Natalie leaned against him, careful not to jostle Grace. You know what the best part is? What? We still have those late-night conversations. Even though we are in the same room now, we still stay up talking the way we did when we were on opposite sides of the world. Because that is what we built our relationship on, Zach said. Really talking to each other, really listening. The distance taught us how to do that, and we never forgot. Grace stirred in Natalie's arms, and Zach reached over to stroke her cheek with one gentle finger. We should tell her this story when she is older, he said. How her parents fell in love across time zones and computer screens. She will probably think we are ancient and weird, Natalie laughed. Maybe, but she should know that real love is worth fighting for, worth the inconvenience and the sacrifice and the hard work. He kissed Natalie's temple. She should know that the things that seem like obstacles can actually be gifts. The distance was a gift, Natalie agreed. It brought us closer than we ever could have been otherwise. They stood there in the nursery, the three of them bathed in the soft glow of the nightlight, and Natalie felt a contentment so deep it almost hurt. The journey had not been easy. There had been lonely nights and frustrating time zones and moments when she had wondered if they were crazy to try. But every obstacle had been worth it to get to this moment, this life, this love. Later that night, after Grace was asleep in her crib and they were getting ready for bed, Zach pulled Natalie close. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not giving up when it would have been easier. For choosing to try even when the odds were against us. For building this beautiful life with me. Thank you for doing the same, she said. For moving across the world, for fighting for us, for showing me what real partnership looks like. We make a good team, the best team. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, the way they had every night since Zach moved to Singapore. And in the morning, they would wake up to their daughter's cries and the chaos of new parenthood and the ordinary magic of life together. The distance that had once separated them was long gone, but what it had built remained. A foundation of trust and communication and choice. A love that had proven it could survive anything. Years later, when people asked Natalie how she and Zach had made their relationship work despite the distance, she always gave the same answer. The distance had not been something they survived. It had been something they used. It had forced them to be intentional, to really see each other, to build something strong before they built anything else. And when the distance finally closed, they had carried those lessons with them. The distance had brought them together. And in the end, It had made them unshakable.